I think a lot of people think passion and they're thinking like making a shot and beating on your chest, but it's that thing that drives you. I think great leaders have passion. It doesn't always have to be seen. It's shown in how they wake up. It's
Mm.
shown in how what their calendar looks like. What are you passionate about? Show me your calendar. Show me, are you waking up early? Those things. I think when I say passion as a leader, it's not always the most fiery alpha in the room. It's really about deep, deep care and love that shows in your sacrifice.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we're joined by the athletic coordinator and head girls basketball coach at Mansfield High School, Brooke Brittain. Coach Brittain played college ball at the University of Texas at Dallas. She's been coaching for 19 years and 15 as a head coach. After 11 years, Coach Brittain finished as the winningest coach at Arlington Martin High School. She was named the AISD Eddie Peach Coach of the Year, as well as Star Telegram and District 4-6A Coach of the Year. Coach Brittain is a retired sergeant first class of the U.S. Army Military Police Corps. She was awarded the Combat Veteran Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Humanitarian Service Medal. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. Well, I just want to first thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on Talking Hoops with me. I was able to learn about you a little bit more just through Twitter, started following coaches and saw some of the cool things that you guys were doing with your social media account, with your program, and then learned that you were in the military, which thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
And this is an honor for me.
Thank you so much. I've been a fan of yours. I remember that clinic might have been the Mavs fall clinic. We were going and passing, but I started following you way back then. And so I've been checking in on your podcast, here and there. And when I got that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is what an honor. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Love what
And
you do. And I love your positive energy in this space for sure.
oh, well, thank you. If you love the game and you love helping kids, this is just a really cool way to get to learn more about, some of the coaches that we don't always get to hear from. I thought about years ago, like the people that are at TABC, they are state winners. Like you have to win a state championship to get to hear from them.
Yeah.
But it might not happen to all of us. It has happened to me, but we do good things and you do great things. And so this is just a cool platform to get to learn more about those coaches. I can't wait to hear about your daily habits, not only as a leader in your program, but also your history with the military. And I would imagine the championship habits that you learned in that time. So, Coach, daily habits that set you up for success. What do you got?
It's funny that you said the military. I've had a command sergeant major came in a long time ago, and she said the three S's. They're so important: sleep, substance, and spirit. Your spirituality. So, I heard that as a young soldier, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I like the 3S concept, but I didn't sleep well. I wasn't always taking care of the substances that I chose to eat too much of or consume in one way or another. And looking at that now, that includes what you're putting into your brain, what you're looking at in social media. Are you putting positive stuff in, or are you putting junk in? So sweat, spirit, spirituality, and substance are important. I loved that from her, but it took me a long time to really figure out what that meant for me as a leader. And something I'm practicing right now has been really cool. I'm working on my doctorate at Creighton right now, and there were some people in my program, and there's this lady, she's inspiring. She's opened an entire school based off of the needs for her son, and she's got this practice every day where she gets up and she does the LT3F. And she said it's powerful for her. It helps her really bring clarity to her life. And L is basically you sit down, you think about you pray for light and clarity in your life. And so think about all the struggles and the heavy things as coaches that we have. Like sometimes that prayer is just a lightheartedness, to make sure that we're lighthearted throughout our day. Sometimes it's literal clarity that we need when we're trying to navigate a different road. And then you move on to the T, which is thankfulness. And I'm big on gratitude, but I haven't always been great on the disciplined practice of it. And so taking this from her was really cool, where you take the last 24 hours and you just think about all the things that you're thankful for that you've walked through the entire day. You try to relive that in a short reflection period. So then you move on to the three F's. and there's feelings that you experience as you move through that gratitude practice. Then you choose one of those feelings and you focus on it for a prayer. And then you move into the future and you think about your next day. So, for example, I might have been walking through my prior day and being thankful that I can still talk to my mom. But I might have had feelings, which I did. I'm talking through what I actually felt
Sure.
this week. I was talking to my mom the other day, and I felt thankful that I could talk to her. But she's also about to have her third knee surgery in a 6 month period due to some infections and things. So I'm a little fearful, a little worried about her. As I'm feeling the gratitude, I also feel that worry, and so I'm focused on that in a little bit of reflective prayer. And then you open up your calendar for the next 24 hours, and you think, what am I doing in my next 24? And you focus on whatever feeling you have there. It could be excitement, and you want to do a great job there, or it could be that you're nervous or fearful or dreading something, and you just take time to focus in on that next 24 and pray through that. So, long story short, when you're talking the spirit part of those three S's,
Yeah.
I found that practice to be just so reflective for me to allow me to have self-awareness in my life. And I didn't have that. I didn't have the idea that these are important. But as a 25-year-old soldier hearing that from a sergeant major, it was like, yeah, of course you need spirituality, but discipline is huge. And that includes your mind, and discipline time in prayer or in just gathering your thoughts and tapping into how you feel is huge.
Love that. The sleep, substance, and spirit. It's funny. It kind of transported me back to early 20s, and I was living poorly and had made some really bad decisions. And my dad and I mean, it's a good relationship. It's not one of those, really close, like he's my best friend, kind of like I've always seen those types of relationships with parents and always wondered. But one thing, he was always consistently there. But during this time, he almost told me the exact same thing. Make sure that you're getting your rest, make sure you're eating well, and that you're staying in the word, that relationship is staying strong. And I think you're right on the money. And without realizing it as coaches, especially in season, I think we can miss out on all three of those really
So
easily.
easy.
Like, how often do I feel sleep deprived? I feel
Yeah.
like I haven't eaten well. I just eat Raisinets on the way home from a game, and I haven't been in the Word. I'm not praying. I'm not spending time with God. Like
Yeah.
those three things, you nailed it.
So important. This was probably my best year of the sweat part with the spirit part. I like to go do that in my head while I'm running,
Yeah.
and trying to work through that. If you let one of those go, you're just spinning your wheels. It's so important as a coach that we protect those.
Yeah, Mono Watsa with PGC said that you need to sweat daily,
Yeah.
and to me, it's like not just enough. Just if I move quickly in a workout with players, I don't count. Like if I walk too fast on the sideline and I start sweating, I don't count that. We
Yeah.
gotta be a little bit more intentional. And
Yeah,
then
for
thank
sure.
you for sharing the LT3F. Man, I read a book. What was the name of that? Obviously, it was really good because I can't remember the name. No, but it was really good, and it was about prayer. It was about prayer, and because that is an area of my life where I feel like I've never maybe had a good attack at it. And obviously it's one of those things that you can't do it wrong. Just show up, and God will take care of the rest.
Sure.
But I do like the intentionality behind that. And I could see how, too, like you mentioned, look at the next 24 hours.
Mm.
I think it's really easy for us to look, man, I can already start looking at district play next year.
Yes.
And one of my favorite quotes is like, don't stress about unknown futures. Like we don't know what's going to happen then. We're stretching. I think this type of plan in your prayer will keep you where your feet are, keep you focused on the main thing, which is this next 24 hours. That's really good, Coach.
That is exactly what I found. It brought me more than anything, presence and self-awareness within presence. And I'm a, what's down there. I'm a planner, and I'm a dreamer, but sometimes I need to, what is the next 24 hours? What do I need to get myself present to be my best version of myself in? And that has been huge for me.
How do you try to help your players through or help them navigate some of these habits, or to have a little bit of a plan, because if as adults we struggle, our teenagers struggle.
Yeah. So this one's new to me, and you're at a Christian school. I'm at a public school, so
Yep.
I do try to walk that space, intentionally respectful of all belief systems.
And to your point right there, you said something though, like for you and I, it's prayer, but for others, it might just be mindfulness. It might just
Yeah.
be getting, like, how often do we unplug? How often do we not have something going on in the background? Or for our younger people, the phone in their hands. Maybe it's just that for them.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm kind of a nerd in some weird ways. Like I want to know how it works for everyone. And so when I decided to do this LT3F challenge for myself, I'm like, I threw it out to some friends and I asked who wanted to do it. And I've got people that aren't religious or spiritual at all, doing the same practice every day right now, just to see. And theirs is set with intention and mindfulness. And then there's people that are Christian or whatever, and we're all practicing it in our own way, and we've all found huge jumps with it. And so we're in day 16 as a group. And
Nice.
the nerd part of me is I'm going to ask them for some follow-ups on like day 30, and then see who wants to stick it out and build it into maybe a lifelong habit. But it's not a religion. It's religious in history. It came from, I'm not Catholic, but it came from Catholic practice. But it's just for self-awareness. And I was like, this is good stuff. Let's try it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And it's neat, regardless of religious background, that some other coaches jumped on with me. And so I may have to get back with you and let you know how they feel about it after those 30, but I wanted to know how they felt with it, because if I can give it to kids and what it does sound like to somebody that's not a Christian, that does it help you in the same way that it helps me? So I'm just doing my little nerdy behind the scenes research. That's kind of the stuff that I do. I get curious.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, to me, and being at a Christian school, we do have the freedom to steer it that way, and which I love that. But it's the light part, because obviously, all the light within us, it all comes from God. But it's, you start with clarity and just getting quiet, and then you move to gratitude, and then you see what you're feeling about. Like, I think it can work for like a team at a public school. I don't think there's anything really to be worried about, because I understand I was at McKinney High School for 5 years, and at the age of 30, really kind of had major life change, where my faith became the focus of my life, where I just kind of grown up knowing a lot of things, probably been able to pass some good Bible tests at faith, but not necessarily living it out or in my heart. But I think that's something I could have taken my players through for sure.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
You said mono earlier, and I've done things that have nothing to do with this practice, but I've taken a ton of stuff from mono, including our daily huddles. So Thursday's Thankful Thursday. I mean, we talk about gratitude. It's one of our Tiger values. Our Tiger values are toughness, integrity, gratitude, enthusiasm, respect, and service. And so gratitude is a pillar that we discuss anyways. So it's built into the LT3F, but
yeah,
we talk that all every week.
Yeah, the more that we can get our young people to slow down, to get quiet, to really think about what they're feeling, and try to get a handle on those, because especially at young ages, it's just their minds are all over the place. Man, I think that's a good practice. Talking about the Thankful Thursdays, I mean, I'm a big PGC fan, and TJ Rosine, I got the whole kind of week plan from him. So it's the Motivation Monday, tough Tuesday.
Same.
I went Wisdom Wednesday, and I'm not sure if that's what it is for them. What's Wednesday?
That's what I do. Wisdom Wednesday. Thankful
And then
Thursday,
Thankful
and
Thursday,
Friday.
Fun Friday. Yeah.
Yay!
I'm telling you.
Mirror huddles. Who knew?
Yeah, that's right. But it is such a great, like, for our athletic period, we take the first 30 seconds to 2 minutes to
Yeah.
tackle each of those. And it's kind of like the buzzword culture. It's not just one activity. It's a
Yeah.
thousand things that you do throughout a season, throughout years. And I feel like that's a big part of it for us. I feel like it is for you.
Yeah. It's life. It's life. And
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear. So that was kind of something that I learned or borrowed or stolen years ago. I had a coach say that you shouldn't say stolen, that words matter. And I was like, okay, I get what people mean when they say steal from other coaches, but borrow, what's something you've borrowed lately?
one of my favorite things I've done a lot this year, new. We brought in a guy named Ed LeBlanc. I don't know if you know him,
I do.
uh, but I've taken taken a ton from him. I could spend 2 hours with you on him, but specifically basketball wise, his transition stuff is incredible. So where we've broken down roles and responsibilities in specific places on the court, it's transformed the way that I teach transition.
Hmm.
And I found the most growth in that area compared to every other year I've taught transition, like with simplicity, with clarity, with great rules and practices. And I mean, we're in what's called the District of Doom here. I don't know if you might know much about DeSoto, Duncanville. We were in a very challenging district this year. So it doesn't always, you don't always see where we've gone, but our growth was incredible this year.
Yeah.
We really had a very strong preseason. It was hard to score that transition game against Duncanville, but if you were watching this early, you'd see some really beautiful transition game and attacking anybody that wasn't phenomenal defensively, transition defensively. We had some really strong stuff. So he divides the court up into trigger zone, dead zone, decision zone, and then you've got roles of pusher, stretchers, and hunter, and you break down what each role and responsibility looks like in each zone. And then you build it into IQ stuff, and it's great. So, I mean, that's a whole hour-long course of its own.
Yeah, I would love to dig into a little bit more there. And you know what? I want to go back because you said Edward LeBlanc,
Yes, Edward.
and I just said, yeah. I want to make sure I'm thinking of the same person. Where do you know him? Where's he from?
So he's worked a lot in Point Guard College. He's
Okay,
written
okay,
for
good.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, I know him. If I
Yeah,
don't really know him, or
yeah.
if it's, I didn't know, I didn't realize. I was done with PGC when he started coming along a little bit stronger. But then
Mhm.
when my son was younger, I think he went to one of his sessions, but I didn't realize he was teaching things like that, and so that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, so he's done some individual consulting with me, which is one of the most important things that I've ever done in my career. I wish I'd done it 10 years ago. I'd heard, in fact, it might have been Mono that said, or no, it was Chad Sanji said, get a mentor.
Yeah.
And I kept looking for one, and I have a lot of great friends, but I kept trying to find mentors that were coaches, and we're all busy.
Mm,
And I mean, coaches, like you have a team and you're taking them through a season. So we're all
mm,
busy at the same times. So I think there's a difference between a friend that you can share and, hey, bounce things off of that's a peer, and somebody that's working with all of your peers and sees all of the things that everyone's going through and can kind of navigate conversations with you that you're, here's what we see. What are they doing? And that was phenomenal to chat to change that this year. So pretty neat.
I want to celebrate you on the growth mindset that you had to do that.
Thank you.
One, to see the need that you have, because I feel like we all, at times, like we know we need something like that. We need to have someone else, like you said, outside of your circle, outside of
Mhm.
your coaching staff, outside of somebody that coaches down the road for you, or that can have that unbiased view of what you're doing and tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was trying to think of why don't I do that? Uh, Maybe a little bit of fear,
Yeah.
like it takes courage to have somebody break down what you're doing and maybe say, like, you obviously you would love to hear the, oh yeah, it's great, keep doing
Yeah.
that. But what
Yeah.
about the, hey, here's a better way? And the PGC guys are great about finding a better way. Got to ask you about leadership and the qualities that you see in great leaders, because I don't know if I've had a guest on that is more qualified to talk about this than you with your experience, not only as a coach, but before. So What are some qualities that you've seen in great leaders?
There's two that just continue to stick out to me, and I've been trying to dive into this with some different projects that I'm working on, but passion and trust. And I'm going to dig into trust for a second. Trust it's one of those words that it can be hard to touch,
Yeah,
kind of those
yeah,
intangibles. But there was actually a study done on soldiers in Iraq in 2003, and they found the components of trust came down to three C's, and that is care for the people that you're serving, character, so that you're living by values that people respect and that they can look at you and know that you're living with character, and then competency.
hmm,
And you can't have one without the other. If you do, you're cutting your trust as a leader in you. You're undercutting yourself. So you can think about great tactical, tremendous basketball coaches, but they don't care about their players, or they care deeply and they also know what they're talking about, but their character is not, it's in the dumps, and you can't really, it steals your trust with them in that regard. Or they care deeply and they have great character, but they don't know what they're talking about. And they may be growing, but they're really so far behind. Like, you've got to have all three of those things when you're trying to lead a team, whether it be in combat or on the court. So those three C's. And then I heard this somewhere. The fourth C is consistency,
hmm,
because if you're not practicing that consistently, you're always going to undercut your trust. So trust is more than being high character trust. It's trust that you are growing yourself in the game and that you know what you're talking about. And you're getting feedback from others, that you can take it, because if you don't know what you're talking about, you're willing to listen and learn.
yeah.
All those components, if you let one go, you're really hurting yourself as a leader. And then passion.
Can I jump in right there
Yeah,
on
please.
because I wrote down the word humility because I thought about younger coaches and maybe my mistakes of maybe like why because you don't start off having those three things,
Right.
right? Like they have to be cultivated over time. So when you're younger and you're an assistant coach or a new head coach, the humility to understand that you don't have it all figured out, that your character matters and that you got to continue to grow in your competency, care about your players, not just look at them as a way to move forward. But like I was thinking, like as a younger, if a younger coach is wanting to have the trust of people around him, well, one, just be humble, or just be
Yeah.
humble enough to remember it takes time. And maybe the 1%ers just they start right out of the gate with those
Yeah.
three things, but most of us don't. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said humility. I feel like that word has continued to come up in my day, not just in my life, but in my day. And I was talking about it with somebody earlier, and we were discussing that humility is not, I love the concept of it. My favorite verse is Micah 6:8. That is one of my pillars, is that I'm going to walk humbly. But I think as leaders, we see these alpha presence and the need to kind of be assertive, and sometimes that doesn't always jive with humility. But the reality is, I love this thought. Humility is not that you're so humble that you're not seen or heard, but it is that all of your character values are so aligned that your true light inside of you shines. And so humility, isn't that, like, I got that from somebody in my cohort at Creighton, and I've just been sharing it. Like, every time somebody says the word humility, I was like, understand that it's not just like, oh, I'm humble, like I don't know, like it's okay to walk strong,
Yeah.
and be tall, but are your character values aligned to where you are loving and serving and just letting the best version of you shine, and then it not being about you.
Hmm.
And that's, sorry, I just get excited. I could
No,
read
and
on
I
humility.
usually I obviously listening, but I try to think of like a direction or follow up to go, and I found myself just like
I
so
love
I
it.
I
Nerd
don't
out on
have
humility. Like, let's
I don't
go.
have much to say. That was, and I was kind of locked in, but I could definitely see the connection between passion and trust,
Mhm.
because obviously the way that those four C's work into trust, passion to me is kind of like it's the gasoline. Like it makes it all go, because you can care, but I think the level of passion you have for something will elevate your care. You'll want to have the character to be like be reliable for the people that you're coaching. And then obviously, like my wife knows, it's hard to turn off the thought process of basketball and how can we be better. And these young guys that God's put in my life, like that, He's given me that passion for this. Anyway,
I'm gonna nerd out on passion too. I was listening to a Tim Tebow, Ed Millette podcast, and Tim Tebow said that passion had a root that challenged our way of thinking about it, that passion is loving something so much that it's our sacrifice for it. We're willing to sacrifice for it. And he drew that back to the passion of Christ. And we think of passion as like, I love basketball, and I like scoring goals, but what does passion look like when it's hard? And like you said, turning that brain off. You love and care for your team so much. It's not always about the win. It's about you loving something so much that you're willing to sacrifice your own sleep for it.
yeah.
You're willing to wake up early for it. You're willing to sacrifice your, whatever it is in life for those things. So your passion for your family, your passion for your team, your passion for your purpose, it doesn't always, I think a lot of people think passion and they're thinking like making a shot and beating on your chest, but it's that thing that drives you. I think great leaders have passion. It doesn't always have to be seen. It's shown in how they wake up. It's shown in how what their calendar looks like. What are you passionate about? Show me your calendar. Show me, are you waking up early? Those things. I think when I say passion as a leader, it's not always the most fiery alpha in the room.
Yeah.
It's really about deep, deep care and love that shows in your sacrifice.
That's good. And you said something that made me think about the District of Doom that you're a part of, and the improvement that you had seen in some of those areas with your team. I think it's a great example too of, with our teams, the passion and the trust, but sometimes defining success in different ways. If we only define success by a state championship, well, crap. I mean, never been a success then, but I think when you're passionate and you have the trust of your players, but you also create that environment where they're feeling the same thing, man, that's success. And independent of the record, independent of points scored. And I think I've thought about this quite a bit. Like, is it possible for every team to have a successful season every year, even though we all know that only one can be the winner at the end? And I think you can. It's just how you define success.
Yeah. I'm a big Wooden fan. I woke up this morning and I saw somebody say there were John Wooden stamps, and I went and I bought like sheets of stamps because I'm going to send you a card and I'm going to put a John Wooden stamp on it. So just so you know, you're talking about success and the definition of success, and any coach, if you're not in line with the John Wooden's definition of success, you got to go read up on it. But that I'm so aligned with you there. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what that meant to him. And you're right. It's the knowing that you did your best of being capable of the best you could be, and I'm butchering his quote, but
no, that's good.
But yeah.
It'll be the first envelope that I probably save, because I think that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that.
I don't have the stamps yet, but as soon as I get one, you'll get the first one.
I loved it.
What's up, Coach? Are you looking for a way to elevate your off-season skill development? Well, look no further. With the Bology app, you can build a workout with our library or create your own content. Send that workout to your players, and then your players complete the workout by recording their session on their phones. You can monitor and encourage competition with our leaderboards for every workout. Bology offers player development solutions in the palm of your hands. Get your team started today by going to Bology.com for more info.
Gotten into culture a little bit, and I feel like I have a good idea of some of the pillars of your program. but there are those activities that we can do that, again, it's not just one activity or one t-shirt or one slogan that we check culture box done. Let's get on to the important things. It's how we live and do and what we do every day. But there are activities that can maybe solidify or introduce culture. So what's one of your favorite activities for that?
I think, I talked to you about our Tiger values, and the S in Tigers is service. And so when we're trying to build a culture of service, I truly believe my program, and I was not a successful coach if my kids don't leave my program and realize that it's not about you. Like it's not about what you can get in this life. It's about what you can give. And that is a cultural piece to me. That is a tenet of our program. And so service is huge. And my favorite one we've ever done was this year. We hosted the first ever Special Olympics basketball camp in Mansfield ISD. We had 64 Special Olympics athletes, and we invited every single high school. So there's 5 high schools in Mansfield, and I'm really lucky here, blessed that all the coaches are just great humans. And so when I tell them, I get an idea, and I'm like, can we bond our kids bigger than Mansfield basketball, bigger than Timberview basketball, bigger than Lake Ridge Legacy? Like it is all of us, and we all come together in one space, and we serve this Special Olympics community. And so we had 64 Special Olympians in our gym with all 5 high schools, varsity players on the day after a game in the middle of the district, running a 3-hour basketball camp, and watching my kids not only take pride in growing up and serving a very underserved community, taking it very serious, and then enjoying growing the game and realizing the game's not always about them. There's games at every level, right? There's all sorts of youth basketball, Special Olympics basketball, all the way to the WNBA players that they admire. You can serve the game at every level because we are all united in that love for basketball. So watching them, their eyes just light up with understanding that, and then connect with kids from across the community and take pride in it's bigger than a record. It's bigger than a scoreboard. We're all competing, but we can also all serve together. We can compete on the court and serve off the court. And so to me, that was really special. I'm telling you, watching the Mansfield ISD coaches I named them all except for Summit, and I can't not name Summit because she was dancing and running the line dancing and just energy giver. But we were just looking at each other in awe, so proud of our kids because their hearts shined. And that's culture, showing up and doing that and taking pride in it and wanting to do it again next year and build it and grow it. And that's been my favorite.
What's really cool about that is I would imagine that not that this was the motivation for why you did it, but I would imagine that next practice that you had was pretty great.
Yeah.
Right? Like they showed up with a different type of energy, maybe a different type of passion for what they were doing. And I mean, we know that comes from when you give back and when you serve others. I'd love to hear it. What was your experience with your kids after that?
Before I answer that, I'm going to not trail away from this. You said my motivation for doing it. My varsity assistant, when I was a first-year head coach at Martin, she was my first kid that ever came and played on varsity as a freshman. So I met her as a 14-year-old, and I met her mom, and her name was Jane Ellen Slagle, and she was a special needs teacher, a special education teacher for 30 years. And she was really big in the Special Olympics space. She was a coach. She was the coach, Coach Slagle. And she passed away from multiple myeloma. We actually had her funeral in the gym at Martin. They called her Mama Slagle. She was the program mom. And I mean, just such a important piece of everything we did when I coached at Martin. And so when I came here and Slagle became my varsity assistant, I said, let's do something cool here. And we started envisioning it for just our kids. And then I said, you know what? Over at Lake Ridge, Stephanie Graver at Lake Ridge had a player whose brother played on Special Olympics basketball. And then I have a player whose sister plays on Special Olympics basketball. And I'm like, this feels selfish to just keep it Mansfield. Let's invite them, let's let them all serve. And so it grew out of just really love for Jane Ellen and respect for what she did. And then admiring the coaches who have the same relationships in that community. And it just grew really, really big. It went from thinking we'd have 10 to 15 campers to having 64. Ages 8 to 55. Incredible. It was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great reminder to not hold on to some of these special things that we do in our
Yeah.
programs. And, obviously, like, it's fun to use social media, and I want to get to that in a little bit with you, but fun to use social media to highlight the great things that you're doing in your program. Like, we do that at Faith. But there are times that even within our own school, like I find myself that this is something everybody could be doing, but it's Faith basketball. Like,
Yeah.
it's ours. We do this. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think that there's probably a better way that could we could help more people. We could get more people into the vision and what we're trying to do. But I think that your story there and what you guys do, I feel like if I felt that way, there has to be other coaches that feel that way too. Every coach out there understands how difficult the balance is of our passion for the game and the attention we give it, and then our family life, whether you're married or not, just any family that you have or friends that are important to you, the balance between those two things, it can be tough. You don't want to miss out or feel like you're giving less to either side. So over your career, how have you been able to balance family life and coaching?
I got some of the best advice about balance ever about 3 years ago. I got hired here at Mansfield. I was still in the Army Reserves. And so I was a sergeant first class in the Army. I was now the coordinator at our campus for Mansfield, and then a head basketball coach. And I was hitting a point in my career where I'm like, I'm struggling to balance my family life with my Army life, with my basketball, and now a campus coordinator, which I'd been aspiring to be. So I called a friend he's a judge in the Houston area. I served with him in Iraq. He was a general when he retired. When I worked with him in Iraq, he was a major and he was over me in our operations cell in 2009. And I'm like, this guy's a great husband, a great father. He was a general and a judge. Like, I'm calling him about balance. Like, you got to call the people that are doing it well, right?
No
And I
doubt.
called and I said, sir, I'm struggling. I don't know how I'm going to I want to be this, I want to do this, but how do I do it all? And he said, I stopped calling it balance a long time ago, or I never would have been where I'm at. He said, it's not balance, it's a teeter totter, like a teeter totter. You
Yeah.
have to know who needs your attention when they need it. You're not trying to get the perfect balance where you're just everyone's happy. It's my team needs me, my family needs me, my mom needs me, my spouse needs me, and I was analyzing that and I got to a place where I'm like, I don't think I can teeter totter with the Army anymore and not take away from the things that are currently my most passionate purpose.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to fail my campus, and I didn't want to fail my team and the coaches that I serve. And that's when I decided to retire. And so it's not always good advice if you don't want to change your life up. But I think that looking at your life and not trying to have this perfect balance that's almost impossible to exist, but paying attention to what's important to you and giving it your attention and knowing that you might have to rapid fire attention multiple times a day, and then sometimes phases of your life, right?
Yeah.
I don't have children, but if you had young kids versus, kids that are out of the house, like you are going to have completely different teeter tottering needs.
Yep.
Even if you do have kids, but if your campus goes through a crisis, your family's going to have to understand that the teeter totter's got to go here to navigate a crisis. Same thing at home. If you're coaching at home, if you're coaching in the middle of the season and you've got a crisis at home, and they're going to understand and they'll be there when it teeters back. But balance, that was probably some of the best advice I've ever heard. So
I really like that idea behind it. Made me think of Mike Neighbors. I asked him about balance, and he said, "Don't try.
yeah,
Like, don't even try." And
yeah,
he had the approach of, try to get things together as much as possible. So, like, his family is up at the gym all the time.
yeah,
See ways that you can blend things. But then I also thought about the LT3F as a way to maybe get in touch with how you're feeling about the balance in your life. Like, if
yeah.
we're just constantly on the go and we don't take time to pause and
Mm-hmm.
think, we may be running on empty and not even realizing it, and then starting to suffer. And then also thought that maybe it's kind of your story. Maybe you just can't do everything.
Yeah.
Like you want to
Or
do it all.
you get to choose. Do I
Yes.
really want to do everything?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it just allows you to be aware and choose,
Yeah.
you know.
If you could start over in coaching, what's something that you'd like to do differently?
I I talked about bringing in Ed. I would have done that 10 years ago.
Hmm.
I'd be way ahead. And not just Ed, but somebody like Ed, but Ed's phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
that was super helpful. Yeah, I think that self-awareness from people outside of your normal peer set, that because they need to focus on them. They need to focus on their team. They're going to give you attention, but it's different. It's just different. And I didn't know it until I had it.
Yeah. That's good. I wanted to bring this up about social media because that is one of the things that connected us. Was I saw you had reposted or shared something, and then looked at profile. I got to see your team's what do you call it, handle, what is it, account, your team's account, and so the mic'd up.
I
Tell me
just started that.
Tell me about that, because like, what a cool idea. Explain it, and then I'll probably have some follow-up questions.
It really just started. That's funny that that's the one that you saw.
Well, no, I
Oh,
connected before, but then
okay.
in
I
looking
was
more
like,
like preparing for our talk. But yeah.
yeah, when you're scrolling Facebook and like an ad pops up and you're like, I don't need that. Well, how did you tap in my brain? It was like a little $5 mic set that you could clip up and plug into your phone. So I'm really big on filming. I like to build culture. I like to highlight culture. I've got some stuff from our campus summer camps where we had up to 200 campers. And I'm really big on showing that it's not just basketball, it's especially as a coordinator, it's Mansfield High School, and here's all the great things we're doing. So I got into that there, and because I'm in that space, I guess Facebook told me I needed a $5 clip-on mic that goes into my phone while I film.
Facebook
And I'm
knows.
like, yes, I do. And so I ordered it impulsively, and I just came in and started playing with it. And it's that time of year. So I just started last week, I guess.
Oh
It's that
wow.
time of
Okay.
year where you're trying to get that excitement back again.
Mhm.
We kind of took a break and just went straight strength and conditioning for a while, and now we're getting back on the court. And I wanted a new vibe, and let's just play with something new. And so I threw it on my point guard, and she's singing Drake, and she's like, I sound like Drake. I'm like, no, you don't, but it's fun, it just brings a little, and maybe it's the LT3F. Like, I'm like, I need to be a little more lighthearted. We struggled in district, and it's hard to go from heavy and really challenging games to like, now it's time to get better. Let's get real excited, and so I wanted something fun. And I think the time was just right for a little fun. Today I mic'd up my JV coach, and she was doing defensive drills, and it's just fun to kind of see them in their own element too. So that's new. I've had more failures in that than successes. So I had two mics going at once, and they were just talking over each other. So I'm trying to get that one right.
No, I think it's a great idea, and I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm at the place where I think I could mic up a kid. But I love the idea of letting people into your gym, like
Mm,
behind the scenes,
yeah.
letting people know what you do on a daily basis, and not just when I say people. I think mainly like look at all the stakeholders in your program. Obviously, it's your coaching staff, it's your players, but it's the parents, like it's
Yeah.
their family. And my son plays for me, and I got to see firsthand how bad players are at explaining what they do to their parents. Because we did this
Yeah.
awesome thing in the gym, and
Yeah.
we get home, and my wife is like, "How was basketball today?" Good. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on. Tell her what you did. I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't know? Like what? But my thought was is that I wanted to let our parents know, like you, that it's more than basketball.
Yeah.
Like our tough Tuesdays and thankful Thursdays, some of my favorite wisdom Wednesdays. I started doing wisdom Wednesdays instead of just a quote. So man, it was the Lakers G League or D League team. And if you go on GFCS MBB on our social media, you can see these little 20, 30-second clips. But one kid gets to choose a quote. and he gets to read it off a sheet. Everybody else is around him, and he has to do it with two things, enthusiasm and conviction. And so he yells it and like hypes up, but the group also has to practice what Adam Bradley calls followership. They have to practice being a good follower. Anything that guy says is like, oh yeah, like the best thing they've ever heard. And so it's these guys like, and then one of my managers filming it, but that's how he did Wisdom Wednesday. Filming that, letting our parents see that it's not just me barking at them about basketball, but then the skill work and like the stuff that you're doing. I don't know. I think like part of the motivation for the podcast, let's keep sharing the game and let's help others.
Two things really quick. I'm literally doing a project right now on servant leadership followership.
Yeah.
That is in my program at Creighton right now. That's due next week. So what did you say the followership guy's name was?
Adam Bradley. He is in charge of Lead 'em Up. It's a great organization tied with PGC in a lot of ways. But also too, those people that are fans of the Hardwood Hustle will remember Adam Bradley was the founder with Alan Stein before the PGC guys took over. So that's how I first knew or heard about Adam. Had him on the podcast a couple of years ago, but yeah, does a great job of, like, we talk so much about the leaders, and one of our quotes or mottos is there's a leader in every locker, which is true. Everybody has to lead at a certain level, but there's different ways to lead, but we don't focus on the other side, which is we need good followers. Yeah. Like if you have a group of all leaders at once, it's probably going to be pretty chaotic. In a game, you may have one guy that is leading, and those other four better be following well at that time, or coach and players. And he talks about how the relationship bounces back and forth from leader to follower. So that followership is something that we really need to cultivate or grow with our players.
You want to help me with my project? This is good. No,
Adam Bradley. Yeah, no.
Got it. No, that's great. Yeah, I can't remember the last. I'm saying that weird, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody say followership, and I'm working on it right now. And
I hadn't heard that term before him, so I feel like it's something that him and Lead 'em Up it's
in my textbook. It's a thing.
Okay.
It's in my doctorate program right now. It's a big substance.
Nice.
It's a big piece. So I'm sure he's just more educated than we are on it right now. So.
I don't know, but going back to allowing people in. I mean, you do it with the Special Olympics basketball camp. You bring people together. Our kids, like, we can use social media to highlight our players and make, what is it PGC said? They said the best sound anybody will hear, or their favorite sound, is to hear their name. So to use people's names often. But these kids and their phones, man, so much, like you said at the very beginning, so much negativity out there. It's nice when there's positivity, and when kids sees a birthday reminder or a birthday photo on our platforms, or we're highlighting the great skill or games that they won, and I think that's just a good way for us to bring people in, but also highlight our players. And that mic'd up, I just thought was a really cool thing.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here.
All right, the speed round is going to be quick questions that first thing that pops in your head, just blurt it out. We'll get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, I'm scared. Again, this is scary. It's a scary space when it's not prepared.
You didn't get these questions, so here you go. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Uh, Bluebell, it's new. It's called like the moon pie, and then they canceled it. Like they made it, and I haven't seen it since. So I'm like looking for it.
Gotta find a new favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta find a new favorite. But it is
Greatest shooter all time. And here's what I'd like to go. We'll go female player, and then if you have a male player too. So greatest female shooter of all time.
Caitlin Clark's pretty money right now. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, just the competitive drive with it. It's not always about just how many the percentage, but it's just so she's a gamer, competitive.
Been really fun to watch her. And it again, I don't know. Actually, I probably didn't even need to do the, female, male. Like she's just great for basketball.
Yeah.
Like, great for basketball across the board. Do you feel like there's a shooter out there that's better than her, or is she the one that you would choose?
Sabrina. Maya Moore was. There's just so many good ones. Sabrina's pretty legit. Probably put her over, like in a just pure shooting competition.
Yeah, that's good. Best gym that you've ever coached in? Or
This
favorite?
rapid fire is not good for me. My gym's gorgeous. I love it. I've been blessed here at Mansfield. I have a favorite win in a really nice gym at UTA. It was the first time to make the regional tournament, and it was .8 on the second on the clock. It was a free throw make, game over. Went to the regional tournament, and UTA is a beautiful gym. So that was probably my favorite game moment in a gym. But I love my gym.
That's good. Best basketball movie of all time?
Oh, you are putting me on the spot. The best is hard for me. I just like so many different components. Man, I'm a Coach Carter fan. I just really get down to like loving kids, hard things, giving them accountability. That one inspires me in different ways.
No, that's a good one. I always thought it was interesting how he named his presses he named them after the ladies in his life.
Yeah.
Delilah.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be interesting.
You made me want to watch that now.
Yeah, if you named your like different things that you did after like your friends and family.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
Texting or talking?
Who am I talking? Who's the conversation with?
Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah.
For efficiency for work, I love a quick text.
Yeah.
And I don't mind a text ramble if we're trying to connect on a few things throughout the day and we don't have time for a long phone call. But I mean, this is awesome. I would much prefer this with you than a text, So, when you're actually connecting and able to take time and you want to dig deeper, talking all day, but texting for simple stuff.
You and I are both in Texas. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock, 100%, 30-second, follow the international rules.
Yeah.
Let's stop playing around with it. I've been a big advocate for that for years. We've gotten some ground, worked with some really helpful people that are trying to explain how important it is and why. And I think we're getting closer in the UIL.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think so.
SPC is already doing it.
What's that?
SPC. It's that other. So you got UIL, you got TAPS, and then SPC. Cistercian, Green Hill, all those. They've had it for 2 years now in Texas. Yeah.
We're getting behind the game. I mean, the game is the game, and
it's so good here. Like the basketball's so good in Texas that I don't.
I understand the reasons why and some of the studies they've done. I just I think that we need to keep evaluating those conversations and move it forward. And I'm a big proponent for it.
And like most things, like I think we'll figure it out. Like it will work out and it'll become the norm.
In Spain, I had a friend that was recruiting overseas and they were using like a stopwatch and a verbal counter, like 10, 9, 8. Like if
problem solved. There we go. Yeah.
Let's not make it rocket science. Like there's ways to get it done.
Yeah. Your favorite holiday?
Oh, Christmas, 4th of July. I'm not good at these bests and favorites. I like stuff.
Know yourself, coach.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
I need to get back to my LT3Fs and really feel it.
Oh,
Let's go Christmas.
okay. You're up 3 on defense with 5 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
I'm trying to become a fouler, but I hate what's the foul count?
They shoot. Like if you foul them, they're shooting.
Shoot.
Yeah, they're going to shoot. And now it's just 2 free throws. So
I like when you don't. I know I'm not answering your question.
that's okay.
But I like when you're not going to put them on the line. And
sure, if you just take time.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I hate giving up any freebies.
Yeah.
When anyone could get a bounce a funny way. So I'm trying to change that because I've seen some really great coaches have a lot of success doing that, but I do not like to foul there.
I want to make you feel a little bit better here because I think I feel the same way as you. I heard Coach K years ago when I feel like this discussion really started coming around. He said he didn't want to intentionally put them in a position where they can score.
Yeah.
So like if Coach K says it, pretty good. But I just did a hoops talk with Bob Hoffman. Bob Hoffman, 45 years of coaching, won a women's national championship at the NAIA level, coached on the men's side at the D2, NAIA, D1 at Mercer. They beat Duke years ago in the tournament. At the G League level, like the guy's just been all over the place. He does not foul. He says he doesn't believe in it.
Good.
And yeah, so like
I don't like it, but I just keep thinking every time I watch somebody do it, I'm like, oh, should I be doing that? It's one of those things that that's a good question.
Yeah. Speed round.
Yeah, I don't like it.
What, besides the Bible, what book would you give someone?
Oh, I'm a book nerd. I give stuff away all the time. There's a book I've given away recently. It's called The Art of Becoming Oneself. And I am going to tell you the author's name wrong if I try to say it. I'm going to have to pull it up for you. The guy, so really random story. I got it from a basketball coach friend. She's like, this is great. You're going to love it. It's really unique. It's different. And I read the back cover, and the guy had been a military police officer, which was what I am. Yeah, I was. And he was on Villanova's sports psychologist staff. So he's a basketball sports psychology military police officer. I'm like, I need to meet this guy. I haven't successfully met him, but it's very unique, and it takes you through chapters of things like patience, lightheartedness, gratitude. There's so many, clarity. Like there's chapters of like just you, being present. I think that's the space I'm at right now in my life, is trying to be very self-aware and healthy in that space. And I like that it's not a normal self-help book, and but it's very unique, very unique.
That's good. Your favorite place to travel?
My favorite country I've ever been to was Jordan. I got to go where Christ was baptized, and I'm sitting in the Jordan River with my feet in the river and watching people come down from Israel, and they're getting baptized in the Jordan River, and Christ was baptized in Little Bethany right over there. So just getting to tour that area and be there, getting to go to the Dead Sea and bob around, which was really cool. And then my favorite place in Jordan is Aqaba, and it's where the Red Sea is. And so I was there with the military. I got to do my morning workout swims in the Red Sea, and just beautiful, and knowing that like I'm where Christ was, like literally.
Yeah. So it's actually like it's beautiful there. Like I've never been. Like I mean, and besides the history, like obviously the history, but I don't know. I just never thought of it as like what would you like? I don't know.
So it's not a normal beachy vibe feel, but to go walk Petra, the city built into the rocks.
Yeah,
I mean, that's gorgeous. I mean, it's historical.
You're right. It's different. Yeah,
different.
Yeah.
Very unique. Now, I just really enjoyed that space. But Hawaii, I mean, I'd go to Hawaii. I've only been once, but I'll go over and over. I probably wouldn't go back to Jordan a ton. I'd go on a free trip, but I'll pay to go to Hawaii. That's
our place. So my wife and I went on our honeymoon which we've been married for about 12 years now. Went on our honeymoon there. Parents paid for that, which was lovely. And but then like it's one of those places that when we're there, we just don't want to leave. And when we always look at high schools while we're there. Like they need a coach.
Yeah.
Who's going to do their silent study hall? I guess me. And but then so I started working basketball camps every summer so that we could afford to go every year. And so that's our we'll be there this summer again. And it's our place. So but I would love to go to Israel and maybe not right now. But at some point, and because there is just so much history there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful in very different ways.
Yeah. Two more. What's a bucket list item that you would still like to do?
This is really nerdy. I want to write a book, but I want it to be in an airport bookshelf. Like, I don't even care how much money I make off of it, but I traveled so much in the Army, and there were some really heavy days. And there were a lot of days where that was my piece, was like, I'm going to go find a way to grow, find something uplifting, inspirational. And so when you're that lonely traveler that might have just been at war and now you're in an airport bookstore, like it was just this like healthy wholeness to it that makes me want to have a book there. So I don't know, that's part of my journey. And one of the nerdy backdoor reasons why I wanted to get my doctorate is to have some substance and some relevance to whatever I have to say at some point. And I've got a couple ideas, but yeah, I don't know. That's
Love
one.
it.
It's where you say, you're like, I can't believe I said that out loud. Like it's one of those, like
Edit
one of those
it,
big
take that.
dreams.
No.
Like, yeah.
I think
Wish me luck.
I think that's really cool. And I will say this: if it is in that airport bookshop, I think you've done pretty well.
I know that's the scary.
Like
dream.
it.
I'm like maybe
as somebody that I self-published a book, you don't get in. You just don't get in those. So yours is going to do great because it's there.
Have to.
Yeah.
Or that bucket list is going to stay in that bucket, or whatever you want to.
How do you take in caffeine if you drink caffeine of any kind?
I wish I wasn't drinking. I have, what's it called? Focus Factor.
Okay.
Get them at Costco.
Yeah.
Just a little morning. I used to do coffee, but I don't like hot before I run, and I've been running in the morning. So I'll kind of drink those.
Yep.
I'll do coffee at some point in the day usually, but it's not a have to. But I really like a Focus Factor before I go run, and I probably shouldn't. I probably should just do water and cut that out. But
so I've been drinking this. Like I do caffeine pretty much.
Oh,
this is a Mountain Dew Zero. So just so anybody's like, there's no sugar in this. I don't really care about the natural flavors or what's it called?
Sweeteners.
Sweeteners. I don't care about that. But there's a little bit of caffeine pretty much all throughout the day. So I'm always curious what other people do. Last one, and I'll just across the board in basketball, who's the GOAT, the greatest of all time?
Michael Jordan. I mean, I grew up like obsessive, and I'm not even going to share on the podcast. You know what? I will.
Yes, let's go.
It's embarrassing. I'm in second grade, chubby little girl, and I wanted to be Michael Jordan for Halloween. Luckily, all I did was put a hat on with stuffed my hair in it and wore a Michael Jordan t-shirt. Like I didn't think beyond that, but like I was not pulling that off, but I almost idolized him. I got a pair of Jordans in like fifth grade as a Christmas present, and I made a pillow on my, I see this is so nerdy. I made a little spot for him on my bed, and I sat him there before I ever wore them, and I would like sleep with the Jordans. I mean, it was ridiculous. This
is what the speed round is all about.
You didn't give me time to think about it, and if I didn't think about it, I wouldn't have shared all that ridiculousness. So yeah, I still have the memory of my Michael Jordan, my Bulls hat, my hair stuffed into it with my little big head. You know those big headed shirts?
Yeah.
Where it's like the player with the big head, small body?
Yep.
That's what I wore around. I felt like that was enough to like accomplish Michael Jordan.
You're Jordan. Coach.
I'm
even especially with what you just shared. This was an amazing talk. And I just want to say thank you so much for giving up your time. Thank you for your service again. But man, I just think I got a lot of golden nuggets out of it, and just really appreciate your sharing.
I had so much fun. Thank you for your energy and your positivity and growing the game and thinking of me.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.